Welcome to Pennsylvania Newsmakers, and as always, thanks for watching. Well, we have an important consumer update. We're going to talk about something that is growing. It's called mobile banking. We'll get the folks to weigh in on that. But first, how about educational priorities? Guess what comes up next Tuesday? The governor of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Tom Wolf, is going to lay out his budget, and education has been one of his top priorities through his entire tenure. As they say, let's get to it.
This is Pennsylvania Newsmakers, a fast-paced, unrehearsed weekly discussion with and about the leaders who shape your world. And now, here's your host, Terry Madonna.
Talking about Governor Wolf, he delivers his budget message next Tuesday, so we're going to have him on the show next weekend. We're looking forward to having the governor. We're going to talk about his budget and more. We'll obviously get a Republican lawmaker to come in subsequent to that, so we hear both sides. Joining me is Rich Askey. He's the president of the Pennsylvania State Education Association, and we're here to talk about a number of priorities. And Rich, you know what? What's interesting about this is that they may be your organization's priorities, but in a sense they transcend that. I mean, these are concerns that a lot of folks have in the legislature, school board members. These aren't political, they're education policy issues, correct?
Well, yes, and actually our members spoke loud and clear. At our last meeting of our House of Delegates, we had 600 of our members give us our 2020 vision moving forward.
Isn't that the way organizations, forget whether you're talking about business or labor, right? It's the way it's supposed to work.
Absolutely, and it's an exciting vision that they gave us, because we're going to talk about, they want us to build respect for the profession. Yeah. They want us to grow the teacher force and bring in a new generation of educators, and they want us to continue the great work we've been doing on school safety.
I think they're called millennials.
Yes.
All right, well, let's start with this. A teacher shortage. Is there one? Why does it exist? And what are you going to do about it? I think I got those questions out.
All right. Well, yes. We are, I think we're more at a teacher crisis than a teacher shortage. Since 2013, there are 75% less certificates being given by the Department of Education. That's a huge drop of educators.
Wow.
And it's across the field in all areas, elementary, secondary, middle, arts, science, math. We have 33% less folks entering college to study education. So we have a serious problem.
Mm-hmm. I would think. Now, related to that is, okay, if you're going to be a teacher, you got to go to college, you got to get a degree. We obviously have the 14 publicly owned universities in the state system that sort of provide, I would think, most of the teachers, you'll correct me, in the state, but private colleges also do that. And there's a little something that's emerged that's very, very important, and it's called student debt. Mm-hmm. So what you have a plan for that? I mean, is there a program that you would like to see adopted?
Well, what we want to do is have these conversations with the legislators and policymakers across the street, because the real problem is right now the average student debt in Pennsylvania is over $37,000. We are second in the nation. The only state that tops us is Connecticut, and the average is $29,000. So we are really looking to do programs on loan forgiveness, because our teachers that are coming into the classrooms with their entry-level salaries, they can't afford to pay off their loans without getting second and third jobs. And that has an impact on their effectiveness in the classroom if they can't focus on what their main responsibility is.
Yeah, yeah. And guess what? It's also being debated in the presidential campaign, right? So you're not alone in this. Also, there's another sort of immediate problem, if you will, and it has to do with hiring minorities, hiring people of color, and that's an added subject that you feel compelled to talk about.
Yeah, we're very, very concerned about what the numbers are, because right now our students, we have 29% of our students in Pennsylvania are young people of color, and we only have 4% educators of color.
4%.
4%. We're among the lowest in the nation.
And the population of African Americans in the state is, what, 12%,
Yeah.
something in that range?
Yeah. So total, we have 29% of our students are young people of color.
All right, go ahead. No, finish your
and
thought.
it just, all the research shows that when you have a teacher of color in those schools, that the students achieve more, that they often aspire to go to college a lot more. So the effect of getting this, more educators of color, is really important for our future.
All right, we're going to continue this discussion. We're going to talk about a couple of other ideas. One would be more teaching assistants, and then, hey, we wouldn't be talking to the president of PSEA if we didn't talk about money, right? We'll get into that after these words.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by the Pennsylvania Chamber of Business and Industry, the statewide voice of business, and by the Pennsylvania State Education Association and Partners for Public Education, bringing the power of a great education to our schools, our students, and our communities. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by the Pennsylvania Highway Information Association, the go-to source to learn about transportation projects and issues. Please visit pahighwayinfo.org. And by the Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association. Business in Pennsylvania is our business.
All right, Rich Askey, the president of the Pennsylvania State Education Association, is my guest. We're chatting about a number of things having to do with top educational priorities. All right, teaching assistants. We have them in colleges routinely. I was one, by the way, back in the day. I won't tell you how long ago that was. Why do you want teaching assistants? What are they going to do? Why are they important?
Well, first of all, they make a difference. They make a difference in the classroom. Teaching is a lot different these days. There's a lot more responsibilities that a teacher has, and that teaching assistant, they oftentimes can make the connection with the student, an individual student, to make a difference. You know, and our class sizes are bigger than what they've ever been, so you need another person in there to help with the education of the young people. All
right. One of the things that also matters because of the nature of dealing with young folks is nurses, should there be a health problem, and counselors, should there be discipline or psychological problems of one kind or another. And you argue we need to invest more in those two areas of education.
Absolutely. And it's a safety issue. That's, we have students that come in with social, emotional, and other health issues that a counselor can make the world of difference in helping that student. A social worker could help with making connections at home that are needed. Right now, and a nurse. Right now, there's one nurse. Law requires one nurse for every 1,500 students.
Wow.
Yeah, could you imagine servicing 1,500 students on a daily basis? So we want to see that closed down. Right now, there's no requirement at all for counselors, psychologists, or social workers. So there are bills in the House right now to, one is to make 750 students per nurse, which is much more manageable.
Is that not bipartisan? I mean, I'm trying to figure out, I know there's a money, it's always about the dollars when you're talking about Harrisburg, to be sure, but that would seem, counselors and nurses, that would seem to be a no-brainer to me. You can argue about the details, about how many, but go ahead.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, we often say it's not about Republican or Democrats. It's about education. And people on both sides of the aisle really have strong beliefs in what's best for our kids. And that's why we're excited about this whole program, and how we're excited about talking to our legislators and policymakers up on the Hill, so that we can really put together a package that brings Pennsylvania into the best place for our kids.
All right, now, you wouldn't be the president of PSEA if we didn't talk about raising the minimum educator's salary, would you? I mean, we would expect that you would come in and argue to increase it, but why should the salary be increased?
Well, first of all, we started off talking about the teacher shortage. and how between the student loans and all those other things, our teachers are getting second and third jobs. And right now, $18,500 is the minimum teacher salary. So we just want to bring it up to today's world. That was back in 1988. I remember when it happened. I was like a second or third year teacher myself when it happened. We want to bring it up into 2020 and make sure that we attract people who are not only more people, but more people qualified.
So let me get this straight. You're saying that the minimum educator's salary hasn't been increased since 1988?
I think it was some point in the 80s. I'm guessing 88, but yes.
All right, we're out of time. I want to thank you for the update. And obviously, as a college professor, you know, teaching and salaries and all that, very close to me. All right, coming up, we have a very, very important consumer report. It is growing and increasingly important, what matters and what you should look for. Let's talk about mobile banking, and we'll do that after these words.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by the CrossState Credit Union Association. Credit unions, where people are worth more than money. To find a credit union that is right for you, go to ibelong.org. And by the Energy Association of Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania's energy information source. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by the Association of Pennsylvania State College and University Faculties, representing the faculty and coaches who are devoted to providing quality public higher education for Pennsylvania's college students.
Well, our important consumer report is next. We're going to talk about something that continues to grow and grow rapidly. It's called mobile banking. Joining me to talk about that is Patrick Conway. He's the president and CEO of the CrossState Credit Union, Credit Association, I should say, and Amey Sgrignoli. She's the CEO of Belco Community Credit Union. We got all these credit unions out, right? That's the good thing. All right, before we get into mobile banking, let's talk about some important consumer financial statistics. Average balances that people have in savings and checking, and then I want to get to current interest rates given what the Federal Reserve Board has just done. Let me start with you, Patrick. Average balances, credit or savings.
Sure, thanks,
checking.
Terry. The average savings balance in the United States today for families is $7,000. And in the checking balance, it's $3,400. So, you know, families are not maybe saving as much as they should.
They are up a bit, right?
But they are up a bit. They are growing. Of course, the economy is doing very well. But we talk about, our credit unions talk with their members about savings and having a budget and having a plan. You know, it's all part of our financial literacy efforts. So the trends are positive, though.
All right, Amey, if you want to borrow money, is it a good time or a bad time to do that?
It's a great time to be borrowing money. The Fed is not changing interest rates at all, and we are expecting them to stay low and stable throughout the entire year. So it is a great time to be borrowing.
What's fascinating about it, normally when we have the kind of growth that we've had, you would have inflation, but inflation, I mean, interest rates are stable, and it doesn't look like we're going to have in any way any kind of an increase in the rates, correct? In the borrowing rates.
That's correct. We're really forecasting the year to be very flat in rates, so it's a good time to be looking at mortgage rates, refinancing, auto purchases, credit card rates stay low, so everything really stable and low. So great interest rate environment.
All right, let's get to consumer preferences in terms of handling their money. Mobile banking, it's growing and it's growing rapidly. All right, why are people using mobile banking?
Well, the world's changed. I mean, people are using their phone for their bank transactions. You know, people want the, be able to do things quickly. Mobile banking is
don't
exploding.
use our phone for, right?
I know my teenagers, everything's connected to the phone at home.
Go ahead. Sorry for interrupting. I had to throw that in.
It's exploding, and I think the banking and financial services industry is evolving rapidly with consumer trends, and people are doing much more of their banking online, on their phone, on the go, and it's really just exploding.
Yeah, I mean, it's also a question that now folks are getting more familiar and comfortable, And the millennials are coming along. They're now the 23 to 38-year-olds, 80 million of them, and guess what? They live with this connected to them, I think. We all do, but maybe they do more than ever. So it's only going to continue to grow and grow rapidly, right?
Sure, sure. I mean, consumers are using the phone and the mobile apps in place of maybe not visiting ATMs as much, maybe not visiting branches as much. But the ironic thing in all of that is that they really want both. They still want to continue to have the branch available to them, but they're definitely using that mobile app, the online application much, much more. They're checking their balances online and using the mobile app almost daily. So you may not balance your checkbook like you used to, but you're definitely checking your balances using your app, your phone, your online. So definitely a big trend.
And there's also a habit change going on. And let me put it this way: debit cards versus mobile banking. Debit cards. What's going on?
I think it's, people are just, they're moving more quickly than ever, in the past, and the fast-paced society that we live in, mobile banking is continue to grow, and it's convenient for people. As Amey said, I think the brick and mortar branch still serves a useful function as well.
Oh, sure, and it'll be around. But ATMs, if you're using your phone, then you don't need an ATM, right? You don't have to go and find one where it's your bank. And you may not have to pay what? Interest, pay a fee for taking money out?
Well, Terry, that's an interesting topic because in the app, in the phone, you're embedding your debit card in there, so you're able to make a purchase without having to have cash or utilize an ATM to get cash. But also, some of the unique things that are coming out with ATMs now are that you can queue up a transaction using your home banking over your phone and walk up to the ATM and scan a QCR code or use that near-field technology. You're not using the card anymore, you're using the phone to access the machine to get your cash. So that's up-and-coming technology. It's not readily available, but it is out there, it's tested, and it's working. So that's a new trend.
Yeah, but you also say, and I'm going to read this, as credit card rewards improve in value, the number of households using credit cards is also climbing.
Sure.
So it's not, what you're saying is, it may not be an either-or.
Correct. I think the reward environment is pushing people more towards credit card transactions, but the credit card transactions may be taking place through your phone using an app. I'll use any of your fast food restaurants where you load your credit card in there. You're making that purchase using the phone, not really using the card at the point of sale.
All right, we're going to run to a break. When we come back, you have something here that you want to talk about called, I'm reading it, unbanked and underbanked statistics. Whatever that is, guess what? Our experts are going to help us out.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by the Pennsylvania Medical Society. Inspired physicians committed to the good health of Pennsylvanians and the advancement of the practice of medicine. And by the Pennsylvania Healthcare Association, the future of long-term care.
All right, what if you live in a household and you do not have a checking or a saving account? What does all that mean? I'll start with you. Go ahead.
Sure. A family that does not have a bank account is considered unbanked, and a household that has maybe one bank account is underbanked. And unfortunately, it's a real problem even in a developed country like the United States. There are many families that are underbanked or unbanked, and they're getting access to their dollars and capital through sources that are not a good place to be doing business. So
yeah. I tell you, there's an important topic, I have it right here, that I do want to talk about. There are mobile banking trends that will grow and grow over the next couple of years. So what are they? Well, first of all, why does this matter?
Well, we've talked a lot already about cardless transactions, meaning it's a transaction running through your card, but you're doing it through your mobile phone and mobile payment. But you also have technology advancements with voice recognition, so that may become a trend where you've got your Amazon Echo in your home. You may now in the future be able to do a financial transaction with your voice over type of application. Wow. Very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to believe that voice payments, again, you write, will be gaining ground. Voice payments will be gaining. How does that work?
voice recognition is probably one of the waves of the future. So that, again, we talked about the fast society and the way things have changed in our lives. I think a voice recognition versus a PIN or a number or something like that is definitely one of the technology trends that we're seeing moving forward. One
of the big concerns when you get into all this, using the voiceover and doing everything on your phone and the mobile application, and the one word that comes to mind is fraud.
Sure.
So
one of the things that we have now been able to do is utilize the data. We have a lot of data because of these transactions. We know where people shop, we know how they shop, and when you see abnormalities in that, things that are different from their normal trends, you're able to flag those and prevent fraud. Recently the news headlines were around the Wawa breach and what happened there. So we're alerted to the fact that a member has been shopping at Wawa. We know as a financial institution we should be reissuing that card to them to avoid fraud from happening to the consumer. It's very important that consumers protect their financial data, and there are many ways you can do that if you're utilizing the data that's available.
Yeah, but the fact of the matter is that, you can have these, I'll call them investigate your behavior, and obviously now your financial institution can do it, so that may help them decide whether you're going to get a loan or if there's some concern about your credit. But you also have to worry about, as you just pointed out, fraud, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, and fraud detection, I think we can expect to see that be more effective as we move forward into the future as well.
Yeah. All right, one other topic that I want to deal with is withdrawals from ATMs will not decrease. I'm talking about cardless withdrawals, but only increase, correct?
Sure.
Why?
That is technology that is emerging through updated ATMs, and you're able to queue up a transaction using your home banking and actually affect the transaction at the ATM machine using your phone rather than inserting a card into the machine. So the machine is still doing the transaction, still dispensing the cash to you, but you haven't inserted a card in it. You use the phone to queue it.
Yeah. And mobile banking technology it does have a huge appeal. This is the final question. I mean, we're talking about something that is going to continue to grow.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just, every day it's increasing. And, again, I think financial services are keeping up with the demand of the consumers. And I know that credit union members, want to be able to do banking as they're on the fly and doing things. And so we expect that mobile banking technology is going to continue to prosper.
And you find that in your own credit union?
We do, absolutely. We're seeing these trends with the members here in central Pennsylvania for sure.
All right, well, we'll see you next week for another edition of Pennsylvania Newsmakers. Governor Wolf will be our special guest, and as I always say, stay well.